Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions 4 p.m. on a Thursday. Back with another in-depth. This time we bring back Amy Weiss. Hey Amy, how you doing?
I am wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. What have you been up to this week? Before we get into the story, I just shared to the groups, but what have you been up to this week so far?
Well, this week I'm out of stock of a bunch of my products.
Wow.
So trying to get those back in stock because I didn't expect triple times the sales during COVID, right? So I'm out of stock of my best sellers. So I've been getting those in, and then I'm developing a couple of new products. So I've got a sample coming there.
Yeah.
And then at the same time in my mastermind group this month, we are focused on branding and marketing and content. So this morning we did a class on content marketing. On Monday we did a class on social media growth, and we like to focus on growing your strongest social media channel. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week.
Cool. Well, look, let's get straight into it as we always do. Let's start with earliest memories. So obviously, I know you're very entrepreneurial. I've seen you bench pressing 750,000 pounds on Facebook all the time, lifting 15 times your own body weight and stuff. And you're originally from the army and stuff, so like you've done some time there as well. But before we get there, what was the creational part, like the very beginning? So take me back to your earliest memories of your childhood, of the early stages of entrepreneur. Were you the one with a lemonade stand, or this all kind of came later?
Well, I was born in Wisconsin, home of the Green Bay Packers and the land of the cheese. It was a great place to grow up. I lived on a farm, and my parents divorced at a really young age. When I was very young, and I was raised by my mom mostly, and we were really poor. So I started working at a very, very young age. My first job was at the age of 9 when I was babysitting for a neighborhood kid. And before that, we did everything. We recycled cans to collect money. My brother had a paper route. I would help him with that. And so, I always kind of, from a very young age, was scrounging, trying to get by, right? Trying to build a better life. And I always had a dream to get out of poverty, to be able to do whatever it was that I wanted to do. And I felt like education was what was going to get me there. And so I worked really, really hard in school. I was always the straight A student. And I really tried hard to be somebody one day. That was my goal. And so, yeah, that was kind of my upbringing. And I worked from the time I was really, really young until the time that I graduated high school. And I had 3 jobs during the summertime in my teens.
So if we can take it back, then some of the drivers, you wanted to get out of poverty. And so how old was you when you was doing your first job?
So yeah, I was 9 and I worked full time taking care of a little boy down the street, and they were pretty poor too. So I just remember babysitting him every day during the summer. I would take care of him all day, and yeah, that was my first job.
Okay, and so who were the earlier influences in your life for you?
Well, definitely my mom, because she worked very, very hard. My brother and sister, my closest brother and sister, I'm the youngest of 7. So my closest brother and sister were very influential for me because I spent, most of my time with them. And yeah, so I would say, my mom was a really big influence because she worked really, really hard. And she set a good example for encouraging me to believe in myself and encouraging me to work hard.
So that's a handful, 7, So,
yeah.
Talk to me about the family dynamics there of having 6 other siblings.
Well, I mean, I was the youngest, and we were kind of like the Brady Bunch because my mom had 2 kids, and then my dad had 4, right? Yeah, 4 or 5, 6. And then they got married and had me. And so I was 7. I was number 7. And, it was kind of a blended family of that kind of came together. And so, yeah. And then when my parents divorced at a very young age, of course, I still considered all of my siblings, my family, and kept in touch with them, but most of them were older, and they had their own kids, and they were, growing up on their own and kind of going their own way as well. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when we're talking work-wise, you started doing it, you say full-time. Were you going to school as well when you said you got your...
Yeah, during the summertime, I was babysitting this little boy, right? And then I was going to school. At 9 years old, I was babysitting this little boy all summer long, right? In summers, you don't go to school, right? And then I would be in school the rest of that time. So sometimes after school, I would take babysitting gigs and stuff like that. But yeah, and then until I was about 14 years old is when I got my first job at McDonald's. Was my first job, my first like real, W-2 job. So.
Yeah. So talk to me about school. Did you have a good relationship with school? Is it something that you enjoyed? I know you said you got straight A's, but was that because you wanted to perform well, but you was enjoying school?
I loved music. I've played piano by ear since I was 3 years old. And I played a lot of instruments, and I actually, that was kind of music was kind of my escape. And so I definitely stayed up with music a lot. I did a lot of music. And I worked really hard in school, but I don't know, like in hindsight, I don't know if it was more about proving something to others versus proving something to myself, right? I think I just really wanted out of my situation. I wanted something better. I had big dreams. I wanted to travel the world. And so, yeah, I think me working hard in school was always kind of just trying to prove something and get out of that situation.
Yeah. Were you influenced by books at a young age?
I don't think so. I was a reader. I read every night before I went to bed. That's something that I, have my girls do as well. But I I don't remember any books per se. I think I mostly focused on school and work.
Yeah. Okay. So we've hit like going into teenagers. Were you a tearaway, or what was it? What was it for you?
I mean, still worked really hard, worked, many jobs, and still went to school and did really, really well in school. And I actually graduated my junior year of high school because I had so many credits. So I was just an extreme overachiever and a really hard worker. So, and I got married very young. And I moved away from home at 17 years old and moved to California. And started, and my husband at the time was in the Air Force, and that's how I learned about the military. And, so I moved to California where he was in school, and that was kind of the start of my journey of kind of going out on my own and making something happen. Yeah.
So from 17, you got married, and where did other jobs fit into play here? What was you doing? I know you said McDonald's and stuff. Walk me through some timelines. 17, you move away. What was the next move, like work-wise?
Well, I had to find a job first of all. So I found a job working at Target. Actually, I was working at Target in Seaside, California, and I was a cashier. Had to wear the red shirt every day, and the job was kind of boring because I'd already worked at McDonald's. I worked at the hardware store. I worked at Sears when I was back in Wisconsin as in the men's department. So I learned how to measure men for suits and help them with stuff like that. And so I had already done a lot of retail stuff, and being a cashier at Target was really boring for me. Yeah. And I was like, hey, can I learn something else? So, my overachiever mindset, I was like, hey, can I do something else? I mean, I'm ready. Teach me something else. I'm ready to do something else. So I started helping in some of the departments and, stocking shelves. I would go and be a secret shopper at Walmart and stuff like that for Target. And they gave me a job in the garden center. And I started learning about horticulture. I started learning about all the different plants. And at this Target in Seaside, California, I had clients there that would come to this garden center that had rose gardens the size of football fields. I mean, gardening is a big thing in that area of California. So I learned so much because they would come and ask me like, oh, what plant should I use for this? And what should I put with this? And, what's this ornamental grass? And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn these plants. I need to learn this stuff. And so I had a really good mentor and a manager there at the garden center. And I ended up becoming the next manager. I ended up becoming an executive at Target. I ended up running their whole garden center and, driving the forklift and making the new orders. At Christmas time, we would process huge amounts of Christmas trees. We would do seasonal orders, everything like that. And I fell in love with horticulture and helping people with their gardens. Yeah. And that's what I ended up doing at Target. And then we got moved because we were, in the military. So we got moved to Georgia. And in Georgia, I found a job working for a horticulture company and actually managing their inventory. So that was my first kind of delve into accounting. And I tried to start going to college because I realized at that point that I wasn't going to get anywhere without a higher education, right? I could keep working hard, but I wasn't really ever going to get past this income cap that I wanted to get past if I didn't go to college. So I started kind of chasing the career and trying to go to college at the same time when I moved to Georgia and got the job in horticulture.
Cool. And where'd you go next from there?
Well, I went into the Air Force after that. So it was really hard. It was really hard to work full time and go to school. And I got a job as an accountant at a home healthcare agency. And, I took my skills as an inventory manager and I, started working on these accounts and everything. And they didn't care, if I had classes. If it was end of month closeout, it was end of month closeout and you better be there. Right. Yeah. And it was just really hard. And I had seen the opportunity of the military. And because my husband at the time was in the military and, and things didn't work out with us. We were young kids and that's okay. I don't regret that. It was a great part of my journey. And that's okay though. I went into the Air Force from there. So I kind of.
So you were traveling around, your partner was in the Air Force. What was he doing in the Air Force at the time? Because obviously you were taking jobs.
Yeah.
But then you decided to join. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. He was a linguist in the Air Force. So his job was to speak different languages.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so what did you do? What made you gravitate to it? Let's be honest, a male dominated industry, right? So, and it's pretty tough when dealing with the military, isn't it? So what was your role? What did you do there?
Well, what made me want to join was, I kind of got thrown into this environment and I saw all the opportunity and support that my husband had. We had great friends and there was so many cool things that he got to do, and his college was paid for. And there was so much support. And I was like, wow, I could go to college, I could travel the world, have it completely paid for, why not? And yeah, it was scary. And nobody in my family had served. So of course, when I called my family back home to Wisconsin, they were very nervous about it. And they're like, no, that doesn't really think about it. That doesn't seem like a good idea, and I've always been kind of go my own way. I don't want to say black sheep, but I was like, hey, I got to do this, so I just went for it. And I did command and control in the Air Force. So my job was ground radar. I helped aircraft find their way. Aircraft can only see so far on their radar. So we help them kind of see what's around them. And then I also moved into war planning after that. So I helped with a lot of major operations and all the forces. So, helping with planning major operations and integrating all of the different forces, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the Coast Guard, making sure that they kind of knew what they were doing and where they were going and that we were able to execute major operations.
Right. And so how long were you in the Army for then?
I It's
Sorry, go on.
okay. Everybody kind of just lumps all the services into one.
Into one, yeah, sorry.
It's all
It was the
right.
Air Force, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
apologies. Yeah, go.
No worries. So I was actually in active duty in uniform for 9 years, and then they actually medically retired me because I had chronic severe migraines and was having some major issues. So they medically retired me at that time, and I went over and became a civilian at that time. So it's basically someone who serves out of uniform, but still within a military unit. And so my total time, I retired in 2018, October of 2018. I was in the cyber career field and retired to become a full-time entrepreneur. And that was after 18 years.
Wow. So we've skipped through a lot of years. What happened in between those years? Children,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was stationed all over. I got to travel the world. My first base was Utah, and I was Hill Air Force Base, and I got to do some really cool things there. That was when 9/11 happened, and so I was in radar, right? And so a plane hitting a building. I was on my way into work. And I remembered, my job every day was to look at planes on radar and help them find their way. There's airspaces in the sky. It's like highways in the sky. So a plane hitting a building, when I heard that, I was like, that's impossible. They are way above buildings in their airspaces. What's going on, right? And at the time, my unit was doing Southern Watch, which was, in the Middle East, kind of taking care of the skies there and helping out with managing airspace and stuff like that. U.S. military interest there at the time. And so I remember they ended up going to war. So the people that were already deployed for this other operation ended up staying there for 18 months. And staying in Iraq and, basically starting the war. And I lost a couple of friends in that because, radars are the first to get taken out because they're the eyes, right? Yeah. And so that was kind of crazy. And then I deployed as part of 9/11 and helped with some stuff. And, that was kind of the start of me realizing that this was bigger than me. Right. And what I was doing was really serving, and when you first join the military, you kind of just going through the paces, right? You're just like, okay, I went through school, I did this. And when something like that happens, that changes the course of history and you're a part of it in that way, it really, it forms you, it molds you, and so that was kind of the start of my military career. I got sent to Korea after that. I spent a year in Korea and helped with the defense of Korea. And that's where I met my now husband of 15 years, Rashid. We served together. He was in my same career field. And then we got stationed in Germany after that. And, lots of deployments. We had 2 children. So we have 2 kids ages 10 and 13 now. And we kind of took turns deploying, right? Like when you're in the same career field, like the military does as much as they can to keep you together, but you do a lot of single parenting. And you're reminded a lot of how much you appreciate each other because, I want to say like a normal marriage, when you're together all the time, sometimes you forget and you take each other for granted. But when you are basically like, high five, you're off. See you in 6 months. I'll take care of the kids. I got this going on here. And then you come back and you barely get any time together and then you're gone, And so it was definitely, it kept us close and it kept us working really hard for our marriage and for our family. We traveled and we had a lot of fun with our kids, raising our kids. After that, we got stationed in South Carolina. And we helped with Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom. And then we got stationed in Hawaii after that. And, when I was in South Carolina, that's when I actually discovered e-commerce. And the whole time I was in the military, I would have a little book of ideas. I would draw out ideas. I was always kind of an inventor at heart, And I swear Pinterest was my idea, Someone else executed that though, right? So, but I always had this book of ideas, and I always had small businesses. Like while I was in the military, I was in college full time. I now have 5 college degrees, 2 master's degrees. And so, I was in college full time. I remained an overachiever while I was in the military, and all of my colleges paid for thanks to the military. I got to do some really cool things, but I discovered e-commerce in 2007 when I lived in South Carolina. I started flipping my textbooks on Amazon and on eBay, and selling just random things like CDs and whatever I could find around my house. And I really had a lot of fun with it.
So I was going to say, because it sounded like when you said you started on Amazon in 2018, which is only a couple of years ago, I'm thinking, where's the entrepreneurial bit? No disrespect, you're in the military, you're on the clock effectively.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the series of businesses. Why don't you go through some of those from 2007 up to 18? So we've got a bit of a timeline.
Yeah. So in 2006, I actually started a nonprofit fitness organization in South Carolina, and I was just helping people manage their fitness. I've battled my weight all my life, and when I was in the military, it didn't become easier to battle my weight. Right? It was harder because now you're having to pass a test, you're having to pass a fitness test, you're having to pass, a weight test, all of that. And so I wanted to help other people manage that. I wanted to inspire other people. So I started a nonprofit, and it was kind of like Camp Gladiator in the United States now, where you just meet at a park on the weekend and we would run a workout. And I brought a couple of other fitness instructors in. And then I also taught fitness. So I was a fitness instructor. So I did that when I was in Korea. I worked at the gym, and they paid me to teach classes there. And so I kind of carried that over in South Carolina when I started this nonprofit. And then I started flipping stuff on Amazon in 2007, and and eBay, and whatever I could get my hands on. I remember my first flipping find outside of stuff in my house, outside of my own textbooks and stuff like that. I remember going to Goodwill, the thrift store, and seeing this camera, and it was like a bin of these old Polaroid cameras. And I looked it up on the Amazon app, and which was there at the time. I don't even remember that.
13 years ago, there, the Amazon
app. It was there. And I looked it up, and it was selling for $40. And they had a bin of these cameras at this Goodwill, and they were $7 each. And I was like, whoa, that's money right there, So that's, I think, when I caught the e-commerce bug, when I was like, wow, I see potential here. There's definitely something you could do here. And it was the thrill of, finding something and making that much money off of one find was really, really fun.
Cindy says, good morning, you two. Amy is awesome. Wellington says, good morning, guys. Thank you for your service, Amy. So talk about obviously there's massive differences selling on Amazon, or flipping in that case for you. 2007 compared to today, big difference, right?
Huge. Oh my gosh. Even when I started in 2017 is when I came up with my idea for my product, the product that I invented, right? And even then, from 2017 to today, Amazon has massively changed. Back then in 2017, you could throw like anything on Amazon, and if it was like halfway decent, it would just kill it, right? And now the environment has completely changed. The landscape has changed. The type of products, the customer and what they expect on Amazon has completely changed. So yeah, it's been really interesting to watch the change of where Amazon kind of started, where you could sell a lot of used things, and there was this kind of just market for books and things like that. And it's completely just become this massive marketplace. And it's been cool watching that.
Before we get into Amazon, obviously everyone has their struggles. What's your darkest hour just before dawn?
Leaping was my darkest hour. I mean, I've always had some kind of support, right? After spending 18 years in the military being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, basically. Yeah, I've led some cool things and I've done some cool things, but being an entrepreneur is scary as hell. You know, we had already brought my husband home. He was a teacher. He had already retired from the Air Force. He did full 20 years and he was a teacher, and we brought him home to work in the business. And of course we weren't paying him yet because this was a very early on in our private label brand. We were trying to reinvest everything back in. And I was paying the mortgage on a Keeping Up with the Joneses house, this castle I live in Texas, you know, and I was terrified. I was like, what if I can't do this? For me, it was fear of failure. I've never failed at anything. I've been the straight A student. I've gotten the academic excellence award at every tech school I've ever been in the Air Force. I've got every award possible. I've won it. You know, everything I've ever gone after, I've smashed it. And for some reason, I was so afraid that I wouldn't be able to do this. And that if people saw me fail, that would be the end of something for me, right? And I didn't want to accept failure. And that for me was hard. And it was a huge, huge leap to leave my job, my 6-figure job. You know, I was working in cybersecurity, to leave that 6-figure job and be scared that I might not be able to pay my mortgage and be scared that I might not be good enough. And yeah, that for me was terrifying.
Like, as you said, you've mentioned a few times on the show, you like an overachiever. Like, do you know what drives you? Like, you know, like you've got all of these degrees and everything else. It's like there's something to prove. And the biggest thing you said there is you're most terrified of is failure. What do you think is the deep-rooted thing that drives you now? Like that, what is that thing? Because not everyone goes through and overachieves to the same kind of levels. So there has to be a foundation behind it. Do you know what that is? Or because some people don't always know, because it's deep rooted, right? It's in your subconscious, but you don't always know. It can come from childhood. It might be that you're the youngest of all the children. Do you see when there's so many different things that can come into play? What do you think is your driver for that?
So, well, I mean, it's hard to say this publicly, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I know I'm not the only one. My mother was one of those people that you could never please. And it didn't matter how hard I worked. If I brought home a straight A report card, she would look at the A- and say, fix this. And so I kind of felt like I was always, you know, and being raised by her, a single mom, you know, I kind of always felt indebted to make her proud. I always felt like I needed to do that. And it wasn't until I graduated with my bachelor's degree, after working so hard, that I realized that I was doing all of this for the wrong reasons. I wasn't doing it to make me happy. I was doing it to make a mother happy that was never going to be happy, was never going to be truly proud. It was never going to be good enough, you know? And so that took some growing up, and, you know, it took some realization of, you know, what was real there. And now what drives me is my purpose. I realize that we only get this one life, and that life is finite, right? And since when I left my job, my biggest fear was making it on my own. And now that I've made it on my own, my biggest fear is ever having to go back and work for someone else, not being able to live with the freedom that I enjoy right now. And so, yeah, I mean, what drives me now is every single day I get to be a part of so many people's journeys and inspire and encourage them and help them. And I can scroll through Amazon and find hundreds of products that I've helped with, and that brands that I've been part of. And, you know, for me, that is an incredibly fulfilling, you know, purpose-driven life. And I don't want to turn back from that. So that's what drives me now, is that knowing that I'm living my purpose, and that I'm on the path that that God has for me. And so, yeah, that's what keeps me going.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
You're worth it. And don't ever forget that.
Thank you,
So
Daniel.
don't worry about what other people think. But no, because it can drive you into the ground. Like, it's that people pleasing thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what happens, you end up overcompensating, and it's like a kind of codependency. It's like you're waiting from a codependent point of view for being passed down that love, right? That bond that you're looking for. So it's like you're going to this person, and you're working yourself into the ground just to get that recognition, which is love, the love of your parent to child relationship with your parents. So the only thing that would end up leading to is you being unhappy if you can't. If someone, it's like dangling a carrot, right? So they keep moving it, they moving it, they moving it, they moving it, and so all you're going to end up doing is running yourself into your ground, and then you spend your life chasing that carrot that you're never going to reach. And that's not a way to live life. So it's good that you found a purpose, a reason for your drive. Do you see what I mean? I suppose it's hard because you're on a track. You've always gone 100 miles an hour to do all those things, but you realized it was for the wrong purpose.
Yes.
And not everyone finds their purpose. 99% of the population probably do not know in their heart what they want to do and then go for it. So we're very rare as entrepreneurs to find something, but you've had to exchange love for your purpose.
Yeah.
So how does that work with you and your family now? Is it a lot more settled down and stuff for you?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I love being able, my daughters both work in our businesses now. They work, they just started this year, and my husband and I both work from home full time, and we get to travel, and it really is cool to live life on your own terms, and then also be able to help people at the same time, and be able to bring cool things to market. And so, yeah, it's a wonderful life, and I feel grateful for it every day. And my mantra now is enjoy the journey, because of course we have hiccups as Amazon sellers. Of course, when we're dealing with, anything, we're going to have issues that come up, but I just try to remind myself how blessed I am and how I get to enjoy this journey every single day. And I try to keep my life in the moment. I try to stay in the moment and see what God has for me every day, because I don't want to miss a moment. I want to enjoy the journey every day, and just enjoy this life, and I feel like that's what it's all about. And, I'm not chasing the money. I'm just chasing my passion and my time with my family. And yeah, it seems like everything else kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah, you see, you're chasing meaning, basically.
Yeah.
The stuff that gives you meaning. Inventions. Let's talk about some of those, or if you can name them or not name them. But you mentioned a lot that you invent a lot of the stuff that you put into the market. So did some of those ideas come from the military, or were they spin-offs from elsewhere?
Well, it started with my product Sifties, and I've shared that on a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. So that's okay. But I had a problem, and that's where it all started. So when I was in the military, I developed chronic severe migraines, and that's where you have 15 or more headaches a month, right? And so I was a pretty miserable girl with a lot of headaches without a cure for them, right? And my migraines are triggered by smells, sounds, tastes, like things in my environment. So it's really hard to avoid my triggers, which kind of sucks, right? But anyway, we haven't really had the opportunity to have a lot of pets because we'd always been moving around a lot. And when we retired in San Antonio, we ended up having 3 cats, and we love them. They're amazing. And the only problem was the litter box, right? Because smells. And litter boxes smell so strong. No matter how much you clean them, they're just gross. Yeah, exactly. And so we were cleaning them twice a day, and they were just gross, And I know every single cat lover out there has had this issue, right? And so for me, I really wanted to solve this problem because I was getting headaches from it, and nothing that we were trying on the market was working. And this was the problem. And inventors kind of talk about this problem that just sticks with them, that they just can't, so for months I would go, I would deploy with work. I would go on travel with work. I was still working for the military at the time. And I would be drawing. I'd have my little notebook with me, and I would be drawing better litter boxes. And I'd get to the end of my drawing, and it was just like, it was the same thing. It was like, okay, no, I've already tried one like that. And there's already one like that. And I'm not solving the problem, and I'm like, but there has to be a solution for this, because I'm not going to get rid of my animals. Right. And so I just kept on working on it. And I woke up at like 2:00 in the morning and had like an aha moment and was like, oh my gosh, the problem is the litter box. Like, holy crap, the problem is the litter box. Right. And I started like, I woke up out of bed, started ripping apart some laundry mesh and we had this like laundry basket that was like folded up, one of those travel ones. So I started ripping that apart. I went to my laundry room, started building a prototype. The minute Home Depot opened, our hardware store here, I went straight there, started buying supplies. I bought some hardware cloth, some wood, a waste bin, a couple of different sizes of things, and I built my first prototype. And it was awesome. And I used it every single day. And I was like, holy crap, I have all these business degrees, but I have no idea. Yeah, I know I can launch it on Amazon, but how the hell do I turn this rickety wooden metal thing into a product?
Yeah.
How do I find a manufacturer? How do I even develop this? Like, I had no idea. And so I started like looking at like Invent Help and whatever I could do. But all of those places, they want like $40,000 just to talk to you about your idea. And to me, I'm the figure it out girl. I'm the girl who's like, I can figure it out. I've figured it out plenty of times. I've switched careers lots of times. I know I can figure this out. So that's when I started my journey of figuring it out. And when I started figuring it out, I shared with whoever I could share with, because I knew that there had to be somebody else out there with an idea that had no idea how to get it to the market. And I knew that if I could figure it out and share it with others, I could help other people in the process. And so that's how Amazing at Home was born, was me just sharing everything that I learned and trying to help other people at the same time.
Yeah. Few comments here. Saibi says, this lady is a superhero. McLean Warren says, Amy is such a fucking rock star and inspiration as well. Do you know McLean? She tried to tuck me up on the show earlier on in the week. So we're doing Mindset Monday on books, and she presented 50 Shades of Grey and then had me over for about 30 seconds. And then she said, when she said it was literally a masterpiece and she's a writer, I knew she was taking the piss. Right, back to the products. So how many products have you invented? Is that your main one? You got variations of, or you don't have to name the products, but do you have patents?
Yeah. So I just filed my third patent. And I have many products on the market. Not all of them are inventions. Some of them are just developed products, existing products with differentiations, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm on my third invention now, but in terms of like just products on the market, I've done a lot of other products to kind of support my brand and build it out. So yeah.
Cool. And so kicked in 2018, it's like 2 years ago. So you're on Amazon. Tell me about the journey there from 2018 to now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, I started in 2017 is when I launched my first couple of private labels. I would say they were more like white labels. Also, I felt the pressure, I started hanging out in a lot of the Facebook groups and stuff like that. Cause at the same time I was sharing my journey. Right. And started to getting to know more of the Amazon community. And I felt this immense pressure to launch 1 million products. And I think that a lot of people, they see the gurus and they feel that immense pressure. They feel like, oh my gosh, I have to scale. I have to launch as many products as possible. And so I was trying to learn everything at once. I did retail arbitrage for a little while, which I'm so glad I did because, we had a friend that we had served with in the military, and he was doing 6 figures every month in just basically selling Nike shoes. So we went and learned from him. We did some retail arbitrage. Then we did wholesale because I was like, man, I'm tired of retail arbitrage. I'm tired of trying to source all these products and replenish them. And so we started opening wholesale accounts. And so, my sales and business degrees kind of helped me there. And I was able to open up a bunch of wholesale accounts, but that was a pain, not a lot of margin. And, a lot of mistake buys. I still have a death pile of wholesale purchases. And then, at the same time, I was developing my product and then bringing other private labels to kind of fill out the brand to market. And so I made a lot of mistakes sourcing from China. I, started on Alibaba. That was before I had gone to China and before, I had a China trip and all those things. So, I made all the mistakes that everybody else makes. And I'm so glad that I made all of them. I'm so glad that I got to meet all these people. I'm so glad I got to learn all these different methods, all the different ways to skin the cat in e-commerce. I don't think that, that there is one right or wrong way. I always tell people, like, if you're making money, I'm not mad at you, like make it work, and teach the rest of us whatever it is that's working for you. So yeah, that's kind of how I started. I just kind of started trying everything. And then once I realized, like, hey, you have this brand over here, you have this awesome product that people love. You have a line of products that people love and that are basically on autopilot and are making you money. Like, focus on that and stop worrying about trying to build 4,000 new brands over here and all of that. And then at the same time, my consulting business was like born and started just growing and exploding. And then I turned a lot of my lessons into formal lessons and wanted to really start helping other people. And so, yeah, it kind of just came together and I got my focus back and started really working on my brands and what I was doing, and then also helping other people narrow their focus and get really great products into the market.
So you're well diversified, right? So you've got the consultancy, you've got trips, you've got all different types of things. Is that a hangover from being in the military, being full-time in education and having a side thing? So for you, do you always have to have 3 things, 4 things running? That's probably possible, Danny. I do like I like a challenge. And if things get easy for me, I like to add on. I thrive. Like to add to the pain. Yeah. Just keep piling them on. And so what do you have? Because like people do it for, Amazon sellers, it's cash hungry, isn't it? Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
So, because you always get sellers go, why do they got a course? Why do they do that? And it's cash flow really as well, isn't it? It's diversification. You get taken out the game.
Yeah. Well, what I learned from that though, as well, is I learned how to really, when you start running other businesses in the beginning, I was able to use like my consulting money and everything to hold up my private label business in the beginning, right? Yeah. When I was making all these mistakes. And then as I grew and hired an accountant and split up all my businesses into their own companies, suddenly my private label business had to be held accountable for the money that it was or was not making. And so, I don't take my course money or anything like that from my service-based business and throw that into my private label business. They're separate businesses and they have separate accounting. So that forces me to really hold it accountable. And my numbers are incredible, Danny. I have really focused on making sure that I have minimum 7x multipliers on all of my products. I have an average of 10 to even 20x multipliers on my product. So my profits are incredible in my private label business. And I love that. I had to pay taxes this year for the first time.
Is that quite painful?
Yeah, it was painful. I was like, man, really? That sucks. But my accountant was like, well, you're pretty profitable. So you should be expecting a tax bill this year. So yeah, I'm really proud of what I've done with private label because I can show my profit statement and I can say, wow, you did well there. And this business is scalable and you can pay yourself. I see so many people, so many sellers that I work with are not making any money and they don't have the margin to scale their business. And I am the opposite. I do have the margin to scale and I am making a profit. When I have a net profit at the end, I can buy 2 or 3 more units of inventory. Most people can barely buy one. And so that's what I try to strive with in helping other people, is getting them to really focus on, like, what's the scalability of your business? And are you going to constantly be cash poor, you know?
So moving ahead, like next 2 or 3 years post-COVID, what's the game plan for you? Where would you like to go?
Well, I definitely want to write a book. I want to take my concept to launch course and I want to put it in a book because, you know, I want to help as many people as possible. That's my mission. I want to help as many people as possible take that idea, you know, really bring really cool products to market and build businesses. So that's my goal, is to write a book and then to really kind of, you know, formalize my course and allow it to help more and more people. I personally, I really would like to buy another home. I would like to have a home. I really miss the water. I'm a water girl. I love the ocean, and we moved here to San Antonio from Hawaii, and I miss the ocean a lot. I don't want to live in Hawaii again because it's really far away from everything. But I really do want that second house. So that's my Lamborghini, right? I'm working toward that. And then everything else is just about spending time with family, enjoying the journey. And my goal with my private label brands is to actually build them up. So I'm moving those into retail this year. And then what I would like to do in the next 3 years is sell that business. So I'd like to kind of package it up, make sure we're in multiple channels. We just moved into Walmart and Wayfair. And so we're building out those channels, and then we're moving into brick and mortar. And so for me, I want to package that business up nicely and sell it off and then play again.
Excellent. So for you, legacy or money?
Legacy. 100%.
How would you like to be remembered?
As the person who helped someone believe they could.
That's a good reason. That's your in-depth. Did you enjoy that?
I loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome. What is the best way for people to reach you?
Well, they can always join our Facebook group, Amazing at Home. Lots of nice people in there. We kick out the mean ones. But you can always join the Facebook group, Amazing at Home. And you can always reach out to me at amazingathome.com. We have a little contact form on there. Feel free to send me an email, send me a Facebook message anytime. And
Cool. Guys, don't forget, Seller Poll is now live. We launched yesterday, which is brought to you by Frasio. 9 categories there. So yeah, please start to get voting. I'll start doing a leaderboard in the next couple of weeks so we can see the positions of where people have voted. It's always fun, so people can see, you know, they can see over time of the evolution and up to the grand finale. It's Thursday, so I'm going to take some time off now, and I'll be back here on Monday as usual, 4 p.m. BST. Amy, take care. Guys, take care of yourself and your family, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Bye.